Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamada Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah. Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Tena Grathitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaita Varshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Amvattvamanusandathami Bhagavat Gite Bhavadveshini. Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutaha Stunvanti Divyaistavaihi Vedai Sangha Padakramo Panishadaihi Gayanti Yam Samagaha Dhyana Vasthina Tadgati Manasa Pashyanti Yoginaha Yasya Antanna Vidusura Suraganaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha. Welcome to all of you on the Mother's Day. And I'm very happy to see all of you after a gap of 2 years, or up to 3 years, I'm meeting you. People were apprehensive as to should the Swami travel or not travel. I said, I have to go to Montreal, I have to go to Canada. I have to go to Toronto. And so that's how I'm here. And we have this series of 4 talks in the evening on the Bhagavad Gita. What we've been doing since last many years is taking a chapter, one chapter of Bhagavad Gita and discuss with you. Since 4 talks is too short a time to cover the entire chapter of Bhagavad Gita, what we've been doing is we select some important verses from that chapter so that you have an overall idea of what the primary teaching or important teaching of that chapter of Bhagavad Gita is, and hopefully you will be motivated to listen to it in greater detail. But even other than that, otherwise also, you get the central idea of the important topics of a given chapter. Now we come as far as the 18th chapter of the Gita, which is the last chapter. Advaitamrtavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim. in those invocation verses of Bhagavad Gita, the Bhagavad Gita is described as Advaita Amritavarshini. Amritavarshini, one that showers the immortality, the ambrosia of Advaita, of non-duality. Bhagavad Gita is described as that which showers the Amritam ambrosia of Advaita, of non-duality. Call it ambrosia, call it Amritam. Mrita means death. Amritam, deathlessness. Immortality. This deathlessness or immortality is very dear to our heart, because there is a natural resistance towards death. Nobody loves death. Nobody loves sorrow or unhappiness. Nobody loves ignorance or stupidity. These three things we don't like. Therefore, whenever there is any discussion, each one tries to prove that I am wise, because I love wisdom, not foolishness, not ignorance. I want to stretch my life as long as I can, because this love for living, there should be. Love for knowledge, or love for wisdom, love for life, and love for happiness. This love is built into us. We are born with this love. And therefore we also have hatred or aversion towards the opposite. We do not like death. We do not like ignorance. We do not like sorrow. So it is not that we have decided to have these desires. We are born with this desire. It's not that one day we decided I'm going to like life and hate death. No, I love life. So this love shows that there is a purpose in our life. That we are born with a love or a strong desire for happiness, for immortality, for knowledge. And since this is a natural desire, not a created desire or a cultivated desire, the difference between a natural desire and a cultivated desire is hunger is a natural feeling, and therefore desire for appeasing the hunger, desire for food is natural desire. Every creature has that. But desire for pizza is a cultivated desire. As far as cultivated desire is concerned, there is no guarantee that that desire will be fulfilled. But as far as natural desires are concerned, there is a provision in the scheme of things in the universe. There is a provision for fulfilling the natural desires. To appease the hunger, to quench the thirst. There must be provision. Hunger is given to me, there must be provision for appeasing hunger. When thirst is given to me, there must be a provision for quenching the thirst. Similarly, I am given the desire for immortality, for happiness, unconditional happiness, not just happiness, happiness without condition, without limit. I have a natural desire for limitless happiness or immortality or knowledge. So there must be provision for fulfilling that desire. Otherwise, in the words of Puja Swami, there will be manufacturing defect. That you are given a desire and there is no way to fulfill that desire, that would be manufacturing defect in the creation of Ishvara, which cannot be. So there must be this immortality, this knowledge or wisdom, this unconditional happiness must be there, which when we acquire, the desire is fulfilled. That is the fulfillment of the human life. Creatures other than human beings are not privileged to have desires. Other than appeasing hunger, etc., other than that, this desire is a special privilege of human being. And the human being also is given the resources to fulfill that desire. Or let us say, the human being is given the potential or capability to develop the resources for fulfilling the desire. Meaning that each one of us has the potential to cultivate the ability to fulfill this desire. It is true that a desire can be fulfilled when there is an appropriate effort. And it is said in English, they say, deserve before you desire. Meaning that I should deserve. I should create in me the fitness to fulfill that desire. That is true. So desire is given. What is left to us? To cultivate the fitness for fulfilling the desire. The desire is there, but I am required to cultivate the fitness, the qualification to fulfill that desire. And that potential also is given to us. We have to cultivate that potential. Advaita Amrutavarshinim Bhagavatim. So Bhagavad Gita is Advaita Amrutavarshini. When that rains or showers the ambrosia of immortality. So Bhagavad Gita gives us the means of fulfilling that desire. But just as fulfilling any desire requires me to get qualification, I have desire to become a doctor, must get qualified. Desire to become an attorney or a lawyer, qualification. So for fulfilling this desire of immortality, of unconditional happiness, of knowledge or wisdom, I must cultivate the fitness or qualification. Therefore, Bhagavad Gita addresses both these aspects. The knowledge that we need to gain to discover that immortality, and the effort that we should make to cultivate the fitness for gaining that knowledge. Therefore, at the end of every chapter, we read this sentence, Om Tat Sat, Idi Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre. The subject matter of Bhagavad Gita is twofold: Brahma Vidya and Yoga Shastra. Brahma Vidya, knowledge of Brahman, knowledge of self, which is a means of fulfilling the desire. And Yoga Shastra. This knowledge requires preparedness, fitness, and yoga is a means of cultivating the fitness or qualification to gain the knowledge with which we can fulfill our basic desire. That effort, that qualification required for gaining this knowledge is called sannyasa. A little intimidating word, sannyasa. Because with sannyasi goes always a picture. Now, these sannyasis are different these days, but usually sannyasa means a wandering monk having only a loin cloth around his waist, at the most a stick in his hand, a begging bowl in his hand, a wandering monk, maybe living in the forest, performing penances. So yes, that is a picture of a sannyasi. But what is in the mind of that sannyasi? There is a form of sannyasi. There is also a spirit of the sannyasi. That sannyasa as a form may be difficult for us. But sannyasa as spirit is possible for us, for everybody. For a householder also, sannyasa as spirit is possible. And even the word sannyasa, renunciation, is a scary word. It intimidates us, it scares us, it discourages us. Not for me, or I am not for that. But we need not feel that way. In fact, sannyasa is very dear to each one of us. We love the state of sannyasa. You'll be surprised. We look forward to the state of sannyasa. Every day we become a sannyasi. When do we become a sannyasi? When we fall asleep. When we are enjoying that deep sleep, dreamless sleep, which is what everyone looks forward to. No one who resists idea of sleep, unless your function requires that. Otherwise, there's no complaint about sleep. If a school going boy may complain, "Mom, going to school again? Eating chapati again?" But that fellow says, "Going to sleep again, Mom?" No, that complaint is not there. Because everyone looks forward to sleep. As though we are looking forward to a very pleasurable experience. And we make elaborate preparations for that experience also. Not only is there an enthusiasm for gaining that experience, there is equal reluctance to give up that experience also in the morning when the alarm rings. That shows that there is something very likable, desirable in that experience. And the Vedanta teaches us that is in the state of the deep sleep or dreamless sleep, we experience profound silence of profound happiness. Unfortunately, We are not conscious at that time. And therefore, we are not conscious that we are experiencing that happiness. That had we been then, that would have been the most wonderful thing. But that's not so. Experience is given to us. Knowledge of our experience is something we have to gain. So some task is left for us. For human being, Ishvara has left some task to be performed. Otherwise there will be no purpose in human life. Don't think that eating, drinking, making merry is the purpose of human life. That all creatures do. Without being doctors and engineers and attorneys and whatever, all creatures are able to enjoy, have that eating, drinking, etc. That cannot be the purpose. So, this sannyasa is what we experience during this deep sleep or dreamless sleep, is what we experience sannyasa. Total renunciation. I give up everything. When can I fall asleep? When I give up all my connection with the external world. I give up even the awareness of this body. I give up even the awareness or attachment to the body and the mind. All attachments I give up. Is it not so? Even this young man who is so attached to his new Tesla car, attached to his videos and whatever it is that he's doing all the time, even that also is given up. He is ready to give up these various entities to which he or she is most attached. Isn't it so? Which means that there is something more precious than all the pleasure that this individual is getting from those activities. And that goes for everybody. But that experience of what the Upanishad calls profound happiness, Eshosya Param Ananda, this is the supreme happiness, supreme freedom, supreme goal, Paramagati. We don't know that that is what we are experiencing, but we know in a way because we look forward to that. And in favor of that experience, we are willing to give up everything. A king gives up his kingdom also. And a beggar gives beggarliness. In their state of profound sleep, a king and a beggar, they are all equal. Because there is no awareness of my being a king, no awareness of my being a beggar. I am so happy to give that awareness. It is so strange or ironical that during this waking state I am always holding on to who I am, my individuality, I am so and so, and always trying to impose my individuality. Prove that I am something. Assert my individuality, assert myself in every situation. I guess somehow I must know that does not make me happy. So I'm willing to give up that stuff. That's the real sannyasa. That's renunciation. It's giving up all these attachments. This experience shows that to enjoy that profound silence, happiness, it is necessary to renounce everything, give up attachment to everything. That is called sannyasa. So deep sleep is a state of supreme sannyasa, supreme renunciation. Meaning that we are not unfamiliar with what sannyasa is. It is not that because we do not understand what sannyasa is, therefore we have aversion for sannyasa. Because we equate it to form sannyasa, of having to give up something and having to be deprived of a lot of things. So that deprivation is what we are resisting. But it's deprivation of something or giving of something that is a burden to me, because during all the waking hours I always assert my individuality, thinking that is the way to become happy, which in fact is a big burden. Therefore I readily give up that burden of individuality, ego, when I go to sleep. So a simple examination of that experience of sleep tells us what is the means of becoming happy, of becoming free. And another thing is that when we are fast asleep and we are happy, because we will admit that we look forward to that experience, that cannot be so unless I was happy in that experience. And we are reluctant to give up that experience in the morning. All this shows that there is happiness there. And I willingly give up all this individuality, my ego, my assertions, all of that I give up. I'm willing to give up everything to gain that experience of happiness. So this happens by default. This happens by default. But Vedanta is a teaching that analyzes in detail the state of what we call deep sleep. Usually, attention is given to the waking state, the waking experiences, and most of the conclusions that we have about life they all come from waking experiences. But Vedanta analyzes the dream experience also in detail, and analyzes the deep sleep experience also in detail. There's a lot to learn from them. And this deep sleep state tells us what it is to be, what is freedom, what is happiness. As I said, the only unfortunate thing is that we are not aware of that deep sleep state, and therefore we are not aware at that time that we are happy or free. So that much homework is given, assignment is given to us. What, in the scheme of things that Ishvara has created, what is done by default is what we have to do consciously. So sannyasa or renunciation happens by default when I give up all attachments, all possessions, which I am so strongly holding on to when I am awake. All of that I willingly give up. And shows how detached we are. Upanishad says, look, in the waking state, this person experiences pleasure and pain and does a lot of things, goes here and there and does so many things. And he leaves everything here, gives up everything without attachment and goes to this experience of dream state, without carrying anything with him. Is it not so? My precious car I am holding on to and all the time I am polishing and keeping it shining. Even that also I give up. Whatever is dear, I just give up. That shows that Anandvagadastena bhavati, the Upanishad says, he remains unconnected to that. So we are unconnected. Had we not been unconnected, we could not have given it up. All of this shows what our true nature is and what is possible for us. The dream state, this individual creates his own world. and gains variety of experiences. He just walks out of that. Anandvagatastena bhavati. He is not connected to that, just walks out. He created the whole world. Says Kabir, Nanak Guru, Kabir ji, apane karana mahal banaya, aap hi jaakar jungle soya. He created a whole palace for himself. Ultimately, he went to jungle, means left. That's what we do every day. So that shows what my nature is. We think that I am mother and father and this and that, all mother, father, sister, everything goes away. Tatra pita apita bhavati, mata amata. There the father is no more father, mother is no more mother. Even a thief is no more thief. All identification goes away. Which I am trying to hold on to during the waking state. I am holding on to my identification, thinking that is where I get my happiness and security. But I know it's a big burden. So, in the heart of my heart, I seem to know there is a burden. I will really give it up. So, understand what sannyasa is. Recognizing something as burden, something that I was thinking or I thought was a means of happiness and security, when I discover that it is really a liability, I am willing to give it up. Is it not so? How long do you hold on to something? As long as you find it useful. These climbers climbed mountains, real sannyasis. All he has is a backpack and is climbing up. This is what say, as you climb to higher and higher altitude, that backpack becomes heavier and heavier. So he starts renouncing. Keeps one apple for himself, that also he gives up ultimately. He recognizes that what he thought was a source of comfort is really a burden. So there is real giving up. By giving, I am not obliging anybody. I give up when I think that it is a burden, a liability to me. What I look upon as a means of security is really a liability. People discovered this in 2001 in India when there was this big earthquake. You build your house for security, isn't it? People gave up their house, they were living in the front yard and they had their tents. Nobody wanted to go inside the house. What was thought to be a means of security turned out a big liability. So we give up something and we should give up something only when we find it's a liability. When do you find that? When we evolve, when there is an emotional growth, a spiritual growth. By growth we mean when we discover happiness within ourselves. The general conclusion is happiness is out there in entities other than myself. But there are times when we do discover happiness in ourselves. When you perform a simple act of kindness, when you go out of your way and help somebody, you feel happy about yourself that you've done something worthwhile. Where does that happiness come from? Comes from myself. In fact, I was pointing out that in the deep sleep also, where does the happiness come from? No movies there, no videos, no social media. Formerly I was saying there's no Rasgulla, but nobody's interested in Rasgulla now. Meaning no conventional means of happiness there in the state of, and then still we are happy. What must be the source of happiness and peace in the deep sleep state? All there is myself. That means that I must be the source of happiness and peace and tranquility. Is it not so? So that shows what my true nature is. Even though when I am awake and when I seem to be aware of the world, etc., I feel that I am very insufficient, I am lacking, wanting, insufficient, unhappy. That cannot be my nature. Nature is something that can never be given up. Nature is something that can never be given up. Fire is hot wherever the fire is. In Canada, in United States, even in Siberia, fire is hot. Because heat is the nature of fire, and fire can never be without heat. Meaning that nothing can give up its nature, because it will cease to exist if it gives up the nature. If fire gives up heat, there is no fire. So we cannot give up our nature. Understand that. So you can renounce only that which is not the nature. When I will go home from here, I will remove my coat and this and that, and all this is external things. But my body is myself, I cannot give that up. So in deep sleep state also, when everything is given up, my nature could not have been given up, and that I am happy. That shows that happiness is my nature. So when you realize that this renunciation is a big word, letting go is a good word, good expression. Letting go. Let go. And when do we let go? When we find that holding on is burdensome, so we let go. The deep sleep state can be described as when we let go of everything. Last apple also we let go, like that climber. And we become so light. And therefore free and happy. Meaning that the true renunciation is a great reward. It's not without reward. It's not also that the reward will come someday, that only when I renounce everything that I will experience that happiness. One step you give up, one thing you renounce, you get that much happiness. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa used to say, his very worldly wisdom. Simple examples. If you drink 1 glass of milk every day, you get that much nourishment. If you drink half a glass, you get that much nourishment. If you drink quarter glass, you will get nourishment from milk. So, to the extent that you renounce, you get the reward of happiness. So, it is not without reward. It's not that someday I'll become happy. We keep on becoming happier and happier and happier. That's a test, that is something that actually creates in us the trust that what is said is right. We can ourselves verify. The renunciation is a process of becoming happier. Because what is renunciation is giving up the burden that we have held on to our head, thinking that it is an asset, whereas it's a liability. Like this fisherwoman has a big basket of, full of fish, very heavy. And Mumbai, in that commuter train, she enters a train with this thing on her head. Train is moving. Somebody say, hey, you put it on the floor. Why are you carrying on the head? Hey, then who will carry it? How can I put it on the floor? Who will carry it? Yeah, but train is carrying you. That she doesn't realize. So as long as we think that we are running things and we are so long, all that burden we retain on our head. It's a burden. You let go. So it is not that we have to let go something that is very valuable to us. Nobody, no sensible person can ask us or teach us to renounce something that is really valuable. We won't follow it anyway. All we are asked to give up is to let go things that we think are valuable but which are really liabilities. Which we think are assets or valuable to us, which in reality are liabilities. That is all that we are required to let go. So sannyasa. You can say that is the theme of the entire Bhagavad Gita. The central theme is sannyasa. Because sannyasa is what we love. Sannyasa is synonymous to freedom. And freedom is synonymous to happiness. So we love freedom. We love happiness. And we only when we become a sannyasi at any moment that we become happy. Puja Swami used to say, this man is so miserable. He has lost his job. His mother-in-law is at home. His brother-in-law is also at home and making all kinds of demands. He has so much debt. Problems everywhere. But to this person also we tell a slapstick joke. He laughs. When he laughs, like this person, I should not say this, that and so, some community, but there is this gardener who is, gardening and watering the plants and everything. He's told, he says, it is raining. He tells his master, please give me an umbrella so I can water these plants. Have we got the joke, That becomes another joke. But when you hear something like you just laugh. So this, still people are looking at me, so I don't know whether I'm a communicator or not. But unfortunate thing about me is that I don't remember the jokes, so that every day these days you read so many jokes. That's a joke also. But when this person laughs, what has happened to him? How can you laugh when you have so many problems? When he laughs, his debts are not gone, his brother-in-law is not gone, he has not yet got the job, nothing has happened, and still he laughs. And that is the moment when he experiences freedom. That's the moment when everything is let go. It is true that the cloud, all these problems come back. But like the sun shining when there is clarity in the clouds, so also happiness shines when these clouds are given up. Meaning it can be given up. The idea is that all the problems can be let go. Because they are not our nature. The nature cannot be given up. And when do we experience the moment of happiness? When everything is let go, that is when we experience happiness. Therefore, letting go or sannyasa or renunciation is renunciation of what is depriving me of my happiness, which is my nature. So, we should not get scared by this word sannyasa. Should have intimidated by the word sannyasa because we are doing it every day. You know what it is. And you know how it is a means of freedom and happiness. So now this is the 18th and the last chapter of Bhagavad Gita. It's called Moksha Sannyasa Yoga. The title of the chapter is Moksha Sannyasa. Moksha, which is of the nature of sannyasa. Now we are all familiar with the word moksha. When you listen to Vedanta, then moksha is what is discussed every day. Moksha can be simply understood as unconditional freedom. Much to release. And so moksha means a complete release of freedom. What kind of freedom? Unconditional freedom. It's called moksha. And that is dear, we love freedom. But usually in the freedom, generally in the worldly life, generally a solution comes to the problem. There is no pure solution. There is no pure gain. Every gain involves a certain loss. Is it not so? You pay a price for anything that you get. So even when you get happiness also, we have to pay a price. That I can be high in the evening, next morning I realize what the after effects are. Oh, Swami, you don't give us an example. You don't drink. No, we don't drink. We eat ice creams and we watch videos and we have this. So, sort of intoxication. Alcohol is a high level of intoxication. But social media or anything, any kind of pleasure that I am getting is some sort of intoxication. And when that goes away, there is always an after effect. So, meaning that happiness that we are enjoying has a price. We know that. That we don't know anything, we don't know any better, that's why we continue with that. If we had our way, we would like the happiness where there is no price to be paid. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Freedom also does not come without a price. This fellow has to, now he is unemployed for many years and all of a sudden he responded to an advertisement, he was given a job offer and he was very happy. Except that now he has to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning because he has to commute for 1 hour, should report to his factory at 7 o'clock. So poor fellow, formerly until now he was sleeping until 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. He has to renounce that. He thought, how nice would it be if I was able to live close by. And he was fortunate that after working 1 or 2 years, he was given a quarter in the compound, in the same premises, a factory. So no more commuting, except that now he is on call for 24 hours. Meaning that we have to pay a price for anything. There is no unconditional gain, understand? Every gain involves a price. Every freedom involves also a price. The freedom that we get is conditional freedom. The happiness that we get is conditional happiness. We settle for that because we don't know what is better. If we had our way, we would like happiness without condition, freedom without condition, unconditional happiness, unconditional freedom is what we would love. And that is a desire. And that's a natural desire, so it has to be fulfilled. And Bhagavad Gita and Vedanta teaches means and says sannyasa is a means of fulfilling that desire, gaining that unconditional happiness or unconditional freedom. We said sannyasa is letting go of the burden, not letting go of something that is precious. It may be there is something that I think is precious, but then I realize it is a burden. That's when I let go. So as we discover satisfaction with ourselves, as we discover happiness within ourselves, which is where it really is, then many things that are holding on to, thinking that they are means of happiness, happily I let go. So willingly letting go is sannyasa. Not that I give up something that I regret later, or I feel a sense of deprivation. That we do. We have to give up many things. We have to. But then there is sense of deprivation. I wish I had that, I have to give it up. Like a child is playing with his marbles whole year, and then mother says, now 1 month for examination, stop. You cannot go out to neighbor's street, stay home and study. This poor fellow is all the time studying. His mother thinks that he's studying, and here he's always playing like this himself. Because he hears his friends outside, enjoying. So he's given up his game, play of marbles, but a sense of loss, deprivation. So that is giving up, but not sannyasa. So our Swami should compare nyasa and sannyasa. Samyak nyasa, very well giving up without a sense of loss, is called real giving up. When it goes away, not that you give up, that thing gives you up. When we grow from within ourselves, meaning that growth is possible, discovering happiness is possible from ourselves. And that's what Bhagavad Gita teaches, how to live life so that we progressively discover happiness and freedom from within ourselves, which is where it really is. And for that, there is no condition or price to be paid. Therefore, Vedanta teaches that owning up myself, abiding in myself, knowing myself or being myself, put it simply, is the means of true happiness or freedom. And therefore the Bhagavad Gita teaches us a way of life. Not a way of life, I should say, it teaches us the various attitudes, values and attitudes in life. Life remains the same. Sannyasa does not mean that we give up what we are doing and go to forest, etc. No. And please don't do that. I used to always say, if you become sannyasis, then who will give us bhiksha? So that is not something to be done. There will be more beggars, that's all we will have. But sannyasa means changing our values and attitudes. And that's what Bhagavad Gita is started with that, with Karma Yoga. So we'll continue our discussion and explain to you how Bhagavad Gita teaches sannyasa of 3 levels. First level is the sannyasa in the form of karma yoga, meaning performing our day-to-day activities, performing the duties with the attitude that may the Creator be pleased with what I am doing. Performing action In technical language, we can say Ishvararpa Buddhi, or the attitude of offering that to Ishvara. But where is Ishvara, Swamiji? Is your own self also and everywhere. Therefore, living life true to ourselves, true to our nature, living life, performing actions, day-to-day activities in harmony with my true nature. Understand? That's all. But Swamiji, how can it not be in harmony with the true nature? Well, your true nature happens to be love and compassion. That's your true nature. Kindness, love. Each one of us is a kind, loving, compassionate, beautiful person. That's what we are. No, Swami, you don't know me. I know you. When I say I'm a cruel person, that is my conclusion or my wrong perception of myself. The true perception is I am a loving, kind, compassionate person. To get that true perception, the purpose of living this life of Karma Yoga. That there is a transformation in my own perception of myself. Right now I think I am so and so. That so and so is different thing. But Swamiji, you don't know me. You don't know what kind of thoughts are coming in my mind. I have no good thoughts, no good things. I don't have much respect for myself. I don't have great self-esteem. I want other people to respect me, but I don't respect myself that much. Because sometimes I find myself telling a lie. Sometimes I find myself hurting somebody by my words. Sometimes I find myself stealing something, meaning what is not rightfully mine. These little things we find ourselves doing and we don't like ourselves. So Karma Yoga is simply living the life true to my nature. That I am an honest, kind, compassionate, good person. That's my nature. And living life true to that nature. That actions that I perform or the vyavahara or interaction that I do, make those interactions, make that vyavahara, what I talk, what I walk, what I do, let that become the occasion for manifestation of my nature. Let my actions become a means of expressing my kindness or my love, my compassion, which is my true nature. This karma, every action, can become an occasion to truly express my true nature. That opportunity is there if you use that opportunity. Every action can become an opportunity to express truly what I am. Every action can become an occasion to tap into my goodness, tap into my kindness, tap into my which I have plenty. I may not be a wealthy person by the local standards, but you and I both are, and all of us are extremely wealthy in terms of kindness and compassion and love. We have infinite amount, quantity of that. That's our nature. Although we may find ourselves acting contrary to that because of some wrong priorities. And therefore, just acting true to my nature. That's all Karma Yoga is, nothing else. My true nature is goodness, or kindness, or compassion. Therefore, let every vyavahara, every interaction, every action that I perform, may that become an occasion or opportunity to express my true nature. Then my life becomes yoga. Externally there is no change. I continue to do what I was doing. Renunciation doesn't mean to leave my home or my family. Renunciation of what is not inherent in me. Renunciation of what has inadvertently occupied my heart. I have allowed these fellows to enter into me and occupy my mind, like the cruelty, like that. So, let them go. Asserting my true nature all the time. Not asserting my ego and my power and not asserting that stuff. Asserting my true nature. And what is the true nature? Love, compassion, kindness. That's all that Lord Krishna is teaching us. Let us live a life true to our nature. Let us do things which are true to our nature. That requires renunciation. I cannot be a kind person unless I give up the cruelty, isn't it? I cannot be honest unless I give up dishonesty. So thus even this simple teaching of living life true to our nature constantly requires me to renounce something. Is it not so? Those contrary tendencies which have taken roots in my mind, I need to let them go. That is renunciation. In this sense, Lord Krishna begins the teaching with sannyasa or renunciation. Renunciation of what is truly a liability to me. Renunciation of what is truly a source of sorrow and unhappiness for me, which unfortunately I'm holding on to because of my misconceptions. My misconception of what makes me happy. Misconception of what makes me secure. Those things make me insecure, unhappy, I do not know. And therefore, giving up those misconceptions. And therefore, some wrong habits that I may have acquired on account of wrong understanding. So thus unburdening myself. And as this burden goes, I will experience freedom, understand? Is not to be sought somewhere else. A little bit of cruelty is given up, that much freedom. Little bit of dishonesty is given up, that much freedom. Little bit of theft is given up. Oh, Swami, we are not thieves. No, you are not, but in case. So this is process of constantly discovering inner freedom and inner happiness. It is not that the reward will come someday. Every step that we take in this direction has an immediate reward. And that is how our faith or trust becomes stronger. Because there is a validation of this. We ourselves validate that this is true. It is my experience. So this is the kind of sannyasa that Lord Krishna teaches, results into. The ultimate sannyasa comparable to the sannyasa that takes place in deep sleep state where everything is given up. Everything means all things that are holding on to are given up. Nobody gives up anything that is valuable. If we give up things which we thought were valuable, which we discover now that they are not, that's all that giving up is. So this word sannyasa should not create any intimidation in us or any reaction in us when we truly understand what it means. So with this remarks, introduction, I'll take a break this evening and we'll continue tomorrow. As I said, there is a folder here which you may have, and the selected verses are there. We will now from tomorrow take these verses and explore these ideas that we discussed this evening in more detail. Oh. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavanto Punah Punah. Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.